All right, welcome to the Cuphead review and ranking. Not just a review, I'm going to be ranking all the bosses that I've played in kind of like least favorite to most favorite, but also most difficult to less difficult. No, I think least favorite to most favorite, and based on that, we'll see which one was the boss that I had. You know what? Actually, yes, the easiest boss first and the hardest boss last. Because when I'm thinking of the final boss, the devil, wasn't really as hard as some of these other ones, like the fucking robot. But anyway, let's get started. Expectations and value. So the categories, when I did the last time I reviewed something, I put 10 categories and some of them kind of were similar to others. So I divided it in half and I feel like that's still diverse but fair. I did expect it to be hard. I didn't expect my own skill issue to be a problem. I did expect the rage baity bosses, and some of them were more rage inducing than others. I didn't expect there to be to me to actually start getting into speedrunners because I've never really paid attention to any of that or was interested in speedrunners. But ever since I've seen some of the guides and some of the speedruns for this game, it got me into it. So I didn't expect that. But overall, 8.5 out of 10 for the first category. I expected it to be hard, but I didn't expect me to be bad at the game. Not necessarily bad because I did beat it. I know there's a famous journalist out there, not famous, but like there's a famous video of a journalist that couldn't even get through the tutorial. So I'd say I've finished the game. I beat the final boss, so I'm pretty good. I'm gonna pull up a YouTube video or something later on because these are supposed to be GIFs right here. They are not working on PowerPoint for whatever reason, but the gameplay and mechanics is the next category. So the gameplays and mechanics, right? It's fast paced. It feels like mistakes are your fault. You can kind of see online what are the exploits and what's the best strategies for the game, or you can figure it out. Part of it is that puzzle of what is the boss's weaknesses and what can you do to get around the pattern or around just the boss. And then really quick, this video is from Pack Attack 04082. So if you for whatever reason happen to see my video before this guy has like 6 million subscribers, but there you go. So the weapons and power-ups in this game are fairly basic. You can just use it to whatever your play style is. Naturally, because I'm a novice to these kinds of games in general, I use Chaser a lot. Eventually, I mainly use Roundabout, and sometimes I would use Lobber. But a lot of the playtime that I had in the game or difficulty that I had in the game was due to the plane levels, and I just didn't like the plane levels. Like, don't get me wrong, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the game. When I say I don't like something, is because I personally had found it challenging. Like these levels where all you would have to do is focus on what's around you and you can kind of like jump, maneuver, use your weapons, were fun and fairly straightforward in my opinion. But the plane levels, for whatever reason, I don't know if it's because you have to shoot to the right and you have like basically half of or a quarter of the area to maneuver. I just had harder times with the plane levels. The co-op feature, it's there. I didn't really use it. But going back to the gameplay and how a lot of it is very fast paced, but it's also focused to where like you can lock in and get into a flow. I hate these terms now because of how dumb they're used on the internet, but I do like the feeling of when it's so fast paced and you're so focused into trying to beat the game that it feels like you yourself need to slow down or else you're going to make a mistake. Great balance. Great balance. And for that, I'm giving the gameplay a 9 out of 10. Now, the next category is narrative, and it's going to cover everything from visual design, story progression, and story beats. But the visual design is really good, and I think it's because it has that classic Disney Steamboat Willie kind of look. And I think Cuphead was unique because it not a lot of games use that style. And it's not the first one to use that style, but it's the one that broke into mainstream media. And why, Cuphead is renowned as such a hard game is because the average dude is picking it up, not knowing that these kind of games are generally hard. But that's mainly for a later category. The story is basic, minimal, just straight going through bosses, and that kiss method is actually a benefit. It's like refreshing for this game where it's just, hey, straight gameplay, here it is, go forward. Yeah, you made a deal with the devil, now you got to beat the bosses to get their contracts and so on and so forth. Basic, and that's a good thing, not a bad thing. It's just straightforward. Sometimes that's all you need. And of course, visual design is amazing. She's my favorite. So the rating for the narrative is 8 out of 10 because of the art style and simplicity. I don't feel like I can give it more. 8 is like, at first my instinct was to give it like a 6 or a 5 because there's no narrative, there's nothing there. And before, I would focus mainly on just what if it's an amazing story like The Last of Us or Red Dead Redemption, Spider-Man, me personally for Star Wars, Jedi Survivor. It doesn't have a story like that, but because of the whole narrative, art style, gameplay, all of that plays into the narrative for this category now, it bumped it up to the 8 out of 10. Now, the ranking for what it is, right? This is the category of like the IGN category to where they're ripping on this game for it not being a specific type of game when it's literally just a shooter. You guys know what I'm talking about. It's a shoot 'em up, bullet hell, a genre that I don't really play, but even within that genre, I've looked up reviews within that community. A lot of people are saying that it's not a hard game by any means as far as what other difficult games, how the difficulty is catered. It's an average, hard, or challenging shooter, not even shooter, bullet hell, that broke into mainstream media. So the average person will find it harder than what it is because that's not what people usually play. And it's not what I usually play. So for that, I feel like it's fair to give it an 8 out of 10. My personal ranking is a 7.5 out of 10. It's a good game. I liked it. I really enjoyed it. I like the rage baity moments. Love the art style. Love the quick paceness of it. I do like that it has a little bit of bragging rights behind it to where if you have a friend that's a little bit of a gamer, or the average person, a coworker, or whatever, that's a bit of a gamer, and you tell them that you beat Cuphead, they're like, oh, cool, props. But it's nothing too crazy. Would I recommend this to a friend? Yes. But it's not like you have to play it. It's an enjoyable game if you want to. 7.5. So overall, with this new rating, there we go. So overall, with this new rating system, Cuphead gets an 82 out of 100, which is way more than I expected it to get. I would have even jotted down to 78 personally, but I just think everything is fair. I can't really change anything too much in 82, and it's surprising to me because I think the Resident Evil 2 remake got less than this. It got like a 70 something, which I might have to. I mean, that is fair because I only played Leon's part. I didn't play Claire's part, so I didn't see everything else. So maybe it would have been the same as Cuphead. Like if I had Resident Evil 2 and I had Cuphead and I had to recommend it to a friend, I would say, like, dude, literally it's 50-50. What kind of game do you like? 3D, the 3D art style or the 2D art style? That's really the main difference. So overall, 82 out of 100. That's it for the rating. Now we're going to go into the ranking of the bosses. All right, so now I'm going to go over the ranking of each boss. And I'm going to be using the Cuphead wiki as a guide. Now, going over the wiki, I tend to realize that I'm a half-assed gamer because it feels like half of the bosses that are available in Cuphead are in the DLC. Look, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17 extra bosses. When there was what? 32, 33, like 30, 3 in the main one, so it's not really half. So, but there's a bunch of bosses in the DLC, way more than I thought apparently. But we'll start off with the easiest to the hardest, which I thought was pretty well established in the base game. Like just through natural progression, they're gonna get harder and harder. But at first, it seemed that way. Not really. Yes, a lot of these bosses in the first aisle are easy because that's you just aren't like as a player you're trying to get to know the mechanics of the game. But I'm babbling a little bit too much. Let's get into it. Easiest boss in the game is this guy, Magnestein. So it's one of the bosses in King Dice, and pretty much all the mini bosses in King Dice are easy, right? It's just the gauntlet of it that's hard. So if you look at it through each individual boss, which is what I'm going to do here, this guy, super easy. All you had to do was use a smoke bomb left, right, while keep pointing up towards the boss because it just stays in the center. Next is Chips Begeddon. Okay, I'm bad at, popcorn reading in school when you were like in elementary or something. I dreaded that. I hated it. It still is inside me. This is why I started reading more. I put his name in Google, the text to speak on Google Translate, and his name is Chips Bet Again. Bet again. I am such an idiot, and that is so funny, and I hate myself for thinking that it's funny and not being able to catch it. But anyway, easy. Starting to get up there in time, so we're just going to speed run it. Pip and Dot, next easiest. All of the ones from this Kingpin or King Dice boss is they're pretty much easy for me. Fear Lap was pretty easy, but it did start to get me a few times. Piruletta, a little tricky, but easy. Now, the Tipsy Troop, I had to look up how to defeat these people because they were whipping my ass every single time. I would get the bonus lives. I would get like 5 of them, and these alcoholics would get me down to like 3, if not 2. There we go. That's a little better, a little zoomed in. The Root Pack, easy. First boss, pretty much, depending on which way you go. Nothing too crazy. Goopy Legrand, cocky little bastard. Got me a few times, I'm not gonna lie, but still within the easy realm. Carney Carnation, nothing too bad. I like the power-ups because it's like a Pokemon, but a little harder, but manageable still. Ribby and Croaks, I don't remember if I had to look up a guide for these guys or because I've seen a lot of speedrun videos as well after I beat it or after I've gotten through a certain point. I still feel like they were relatively easy to beat because they were right next to each other, or all you had to do was pretty much just jump back and forth. When they turn into a coin thingy, it wasn't really too concerning, to this, but I've seen a few videos on them where how you can cheese it. Now it's starting to get a little challenging. Baroness Von Bon. I remember thinking she was going to be light work, but this guy with the gumdrops and then the clouds, this was the first little instance where I thought, oh snap, some of these bosses might be a little overwhelming, but if you focus up a little bit, you're fine. Next up, we're actually back to King Dice mini bosses, Mr. Chimes. It was just confusing to me. It was another one of these little, it's just like another little plane level, but having to memorize all of the dots or the cards was hard. But I don't know if this is a speed run or not, but at a certain point, how you can cheese it is you see how the camera moves. All you got to do is get them to a corner and then get them out of bounds and you're good. I didn't do that, however, so it's still higher up in the difficulty when it comes to how much I had to deal with him, especially because he was the last mini boss no matter what. So he kind of like tripped me up a bit because I was having to memorize the cards. I know about that little exploit. Next is Beppy the Clown, Terrifier's little cousin or something. That's literally the first thought I had when I saw Beppy is, oh snap, they copied Terrifier. But I don't remember. I don't know when this came out, and I don't know if it would have came out before or after Terrifier. But that was pretty like jarring. Yeah, but this is one of the bosses where it did take me more than a few tries to try to beat him because of everything that's going on. But I do remember locking in, being like, okay, the train is coming, so make sure to jump over that. Oh, you got to parry this guy and jump over these guys because these guys will damage you, and always aim for the balloon head. And I think at this point I was still using Chaser, so I can focus more on jumping and dodging than actually hitting him. Like I wouldn't use. I don't think I unlocked spread till like midway, if not further into the game. And even then, I wouldn't use it too much because I felt like I wouldn't be fast enough to get out of the way. Next difficulty was Captain Briny Beard. I wouldn't say he was harder than Beppy the Clown. They're pretty much the same level as far as stuff that I had to like look out and deal with. I don't know why I found him harder. I think it was because of the shark sometimes, or me having to get close and having to deal with like four things coming at you at once. There, but Beppy the Clown kind of had the same thing. But for whatever reason, I feel like Beppy the Clown I defeated faster, so that's why Brainy is a little was a little harder than Beppy, just by a hair. Oh, this is why, because of these circle things. These circle things, circular patterns, like and this circular patterns, circular lobs that would come at you that you have to dodge, even in the devil where it does a spiral. For whatever reason, spirals were the bane of my existence in this game. They would always get me, even though they're just a circle. All you have to do is follow the circle. But I don't know if my brain like recognizes the pattern, and instead of avoiding it, it falls into the pattern, and that's why I get hit a lot. But yeah, now I remember that's why Brainy Beard was harder for me than Beppy. After that, and as far as difficulty goes, is King Dice. It's when you finally beat his gauntlet, when you finally beat his game, and you fight him, and you have to deal with his hands dancing and sending you cards, and you have to basically parry and stay in the air as much as you can. No, you don't. This is one of the ones where I did find a cheat. I did find a guide. I think it was the "Help Me, I'm Stuck" a guy. This guy. This guy really helped and really came in clutch when it came to some of these boss battles. What's his name? Literally is just "Help Me, I'm Stuck," and this guy is charity work. I don't know if that's the right saying or words to describe it, but he was very helpful with some of these boss battles. And I say some of them because a lot of time he would, or most of the time, not most of the time, some of his suggestions were good. I just wasn't able to execute them. So instead, I just followed kind of his suggestion, and I used my own weapons and workarounds, so to speak. But anyway, I don't know if it was him or if it was another video that taught me that as soon as King Dice shows up after you defeated the final mini boss, I think it was the monkey, all you got to do is get to the far right or far left of the screen, and whenever he stops sending the cards, run to the other side because there's more than a 50% chance that he switches hands, right? So he sends one deck and you're safe behind his hand the whole time. And then whenever he lifts his hand up, you could run across the screen, continue shooting at him, and then get to the other side to where he sends the other group of cards. You avoid having to do that gauntlet of parry hell when he sends the cards. But yeah, because of that exploit, King Dice isn't the hardest boss. He would have been like the second or third hardest boss in my opinion. But because of the cheese, a boss can have that huge exploit, in my opinion, bumped it down to middle of the road. Rumor Honeybottoms. I don't know what the rumor has to do about her, but fairly easy. The only reason it was hard was because I thought it was a platformer. I thought it was just a mini run and gun type of a level. I thought it was like a level. I didn't think it was a mini boss at first. But the plane, for whatever reason, always got me. It always got me. And then these things, which one? Which one is it? I think it's the triangle. The triangle more than I don't even remember the cubes, but the spears, the bullets, the triangle things, and the plane is what would always get me when it came to this mini boss, or this boss. Sorry. This guy wasn't too bad. The workers though, the little depressed workers, the white collar workers that would buzz around sometimes, I just ignore them. And then out of nowhere, they were the ones that would cause me to die a lot of the times. So that really pissed me off. And that's why she's up here. Sally's stage play, for me, it was just an endurance battle. How much can I like keep focused on what she's doing, get out of the way, and target her? And then towards the end, where she's like a Cupid or she's like a moon or something, easy. For whatever reason, because of the endurance battle part of it, when in the final phase, like she's driving around, I think as an angel or something. Here, these little toys and bottles, they would always get me. As soon as they hit the floor and they start moving, or when they're moving at first, they would always get me. This fan sometimes would trip me up. Yeah, this part wasn't that big of a deal, but I did have to, whenever I would jump over this umbrella and the flowers would fall, I would avoid the pink ones, but the ones that are colored kind of like blended into the background almost and would hit me, right? I would be that close and I would lose. Phantom Express was pretty hard, and surprisingly, I didn't find a guide, or I didn't look at a guide for this one. I forget which ones. These next ones, pretty much all of them, I looked up for a guide. I think the Phantom Express, or around the Phantom Express, is where I looked for a guide. But no, after the Phantom Express, this was the last one where I was like, okay, I think I can see what's happening. And once I did, and you can find kind of like how to stay away from the attacks or how to time the attacks, no problem at all. It wasn't until the train where it was like galloping and you had to hit the tail and you had to try to aim for the center like fire heart. That one did give me a lot of trouble. And it was one of these, at first it was an endurance, another one it wasn't really an endurance one. After you get down the patterns, it's more of a memorization, and okay, now you gotta like focus up and this is what you need to do. It wasn't until the train phase where it got really difficult for me, having like messing up my own mess ups, not necessarily what the boss did, but he did take a little bit for me to finally beat Phantom Express. Next up is the final boss, the devil, and you can see I still have a few more bosses that I thought were way harder than the devil. He was hard, but in a way it was anticlimactic. The way he was, I thought he would be way harder. I think I remember actually looking up a guide at a certain point, mainly because I was tired at this point. For whatever reason, when I feel like I get to the end of a game, I just want it to be over. I just want it to be done. I want to be finished so I can go on to the next game, because I have to, and especially because when you die a lot with King Dice. And looking back at this gameplay, it's not my gameplay, it's the gameplay, the YouTuber I told you about earlier. It took me a while to get to this phase, and trying to avoid that bomb was hard for me. Trying to avoid the falling chips was hard for me. But at a certain point, after that axe was super hard for me. Like, again, with the spirals and the circles, I always had a hard time with those in particular. It would take me a little bit to get to this phase. And surprisingly, with everything that was going on the screen, I didn't have a hard time with it. I forget what power boost I had, but it felt like I was able to use my power-ups fairly quickly and get rid of a lot of the things on the screen. And when he's crying here, I didn't have a hard time, and I knocked him out surprisingly quick, where it surprised the hell out of me. So with that, I think this is already in my top 10. So it was with Sally at 10, Phantom Express at 9, The Devil at 8. Yes, The Devil is at 8, and Hildeberg is at 7. Even though Hildeberg is one of the first couple of bosses that you fight, because again, the plane levels always, or the where you have to fly a plane, it always gave me the hardest time because it was a different mechanic. And I just remember the Hilda gave me the hardest time, the longest time, to where whenever I did beat her, I audibly yelled like yes. Like, I don't know how I don't know how loud I actually was, but my wife did tell me to calm down, especially in this phase. This phase, because again, it's one of the first bosses, but it's like end game almost level difficulty. It was exceptionally, or especially, I don't know which the word is, but it was hard for me. Number 6 is Werner Werman. So the first two phases or so with the cherry bombs, and that when you first start this boss, it wasn't too hard. The cherry bombs were a son of a bitch at a certain point, but with the teleport and the ghost, being the with the ghost bomb, it was a big help. But here, for whatever reason, I would always forget that he blasts fire because I'm looking at these bottle caps. These bottle cap. If he didn't kill me with the fire, the bottle caps for sure killed me. And then with the cat, it wasn't that hard. It was mainly the last little phase that was really difficult for me to get through. Now, this is number 5 as like the top 5 hardest bosses for me in this game, Glada Maria. And this is a boss that I didn't mind losing to a few times. Honestly, this is my type. I even told my wife, I'm like, hey, this girl reminds me of you a little bit. But she was hard, and when she would turn you to stone, I would die because the next attack was pretty much a guaranteed hit. This phase was the phase that would get me the most because of those freaking seals, the electric eels. What? It's not seals, the electric eels. They would send you all of those flying beans, whatever those were, and I would always, always, always get hit. When I finally got to this phase, getting through this phase, it took me like about 4 to 5 tries to finally beat her. But it was mainly those eels. I tried to cheese it by getting up away from where they would shotgun out their attack, and I would try to hide to the right side of the screen. I don't want to see her like that. I want to see her in all her glory. Right? No, not like that. Anyway, there we go. So, number 5, Clara Maria. Number 4, all right. So his name is apparently Jimmy the Great. Jimmy the Genie. It's yet another one of those damn plane levels, and it gave me a really hard time, especially with everything that would fly at you on the screen, these pillars, the final phase. Everything about this boss was tricky, not hard, I would say, but tricky, especially since I was using the Switch little Joy-Con, which I guess is not the best. So sometimes I think I defeated this guy when I connected it to the TV, and I was using the Pro controller. But yeah, it was just so hard, and every time I would turn into that nuke to try to damage it, I did a battle cry every time. Number 3, Grim Matchstick. Holy shit, was this boss hard for me. The tail, the double fireballs, these little fire assholes. It took me the longest time because I was so focused on my character and where the bullets were flying and making sure it was hitting the dragon that I didn't know that when they pause, they face wherever they're going to jump, and you can avoid them. So it was mainly those fire sprites that gave me the hardest time. When I got to this part of the boss battle, it wasn't too crazy, But when I finally knocked it out, I audibly yelled as well. The second hardest boss for the entire game was this guy, for sure. I mean, look at this. What I'm not gonna lie, when I first saw this, I was overwhelmed and it killed me a bunch of times. And then when it got to the next phase, this little evil, ugly bastard, he would get me a lot because again, it's shit that's going in circles, that's spinning around. That was my kryptonite throughout this whole game. Also, another kind of like handicap that I pretty much gave myself is that I wouldn't switch to my bombs as often as I should have, if at all, because I would just straight use the the bullets the whole time with the plane. This part with all this stuff gave me a hard time, but yes, I think I did ended up killing it with a one of those bombs when you turn into a bomb. And now for the number one hardest boss for me is this asshole. Dr. Cal's robot made me fucking hate the Iron Giant. It's not a straightforward boss battle where anywhere you hit is where you do the most damage. No. You got this Gallica bullshit. You got to avoid this thing and you got to aim for the laser head, and then it just starts spitting stuff at you, and especially these bombs, these little bombs that would come out, the bombs that would follow you around, because again, I have trouble with things that go in circles. And you put something that kind of goes in circles and follows you, fuck you. This guy made me hate Mr. Robotnik even more. I'm not a Sonic fan. I didn't care about Mr. Robotnik. I saw the movie, it was okay. Jim Carrey did great, but fuck this guy. Fuck this doctor, fuck this robot. I hated this level so much. I had such a hard time. And again, this pattern recognition, all you got to do is avoid the diamonds, right? But the diamonds are in a spiral. It's in a circle. They spin around. And the main reason I was able to get through it was going up and down to avoid getting hit. But oh my God, even watching this, like somebody else's perfect run of a gameplay, they have 4 HP somehow. This pissed me off. Not the video, but that level in particular pissed me off so much. It was so hard. But yeah, that's it. That's it for the video. Like I said, the ranking for it was like an 82 out of 100, and that's my ranking for all these bosses. Anybody watching, hope you enjoyed. Hope you have a good day, and I'll see you in the next one.